Do you ever feel like you don't know what to say to someone if they're getting divorced? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to this episode of Divorce Etc. I'm Jessica.
And I am TH, and we are best friends over 30 years now, and we're super young looking. So I know that's really hard to figure out
had
like our
facelifts.
necks look good,
We'll
all
talk
the
about
things,
next in
all
a
the
different
things.
episode because I actually used something for it. But today we are also founders of Ex Experts and the Divorce Etc. podcast and the Divorce Etc. YouTube show. But today we're going to be talking about how to be a good friend when
Right.
someone's getting divorced. We know how to be a good friend to each other. And when we were getting divorced at the exact same time, that was easy for us. But a lot of times people out there don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Sometimes it's as if someone had passed away in your family. They just feel like if they don't bring it up at all, that's the better thing to do. Or how bad your ex was, if it was someone that cheated on you, they will like be really toxic and gossipy, which is also not helpful. So we decided to clear up for you guys what is helpful if someone close to you is going through a divorce.
We weren't intentionally like being good friends and good listeners. Like we're like, well, what happened today? And
What'd your lawyer
where's
tell
the
you?
kid? And like, what did he
Right.
do? And we were doing that. And now looking back, as we've built Ex Experts in Divorce, et cetera, we're like, wow, we actually like did the right thing for
We were
each
very
other.
supportive.
We were super good listeners. We didn't judge. We offered opinions when they were accepted, and maybe a little when they weren't, but it was a safe space. And so the first and most important thing that we really did for each other was kind of like meet each other where we were. I was thrilled to be out of my marriage, so I didn't really give a crap about him and what our future looked like as co-parents. I was like, whatever, I've been doing this alone for 5 years. Now it's like official. I got this. And Jessica was not in the same space, but we were still able to support one another. And that's because Jessica would vent and I would keep my mouth shut. I would vent and she would keep her mouth shut. And you just want to be heard. And look, this applies to divorce, sickness, any kind of shakeup in your life.
Right.
To be a good friend, you have to just meet your friend where they are, not where you think they should be. Because like a lot of people are like, you've been separated for 6 months. Why aren't you dating already?
Unsolicited advice is not necessary and not always welcome.
But also not meeting you where you are.
Right.
Like not even really caring about where you are and then passing judgment. Like, or with our ex-husbands, like he's already with her. He's already engaged, which I do think was not appropriate
while we were still married.
Right. So it was right. So, but all I'm saying is be careful with judgment and make sure, like, if somebody's not in a good place, you just meet them where they are, not like, God, it's been a year. Like, get over it already. Get over
I don't
it.
have anybody saying things like that.
No, but I think people do just say that stuff.
I also did a social post, an Instagram and a TikTok post a little while ago about what not to say as soon as you hear that someone's getting divorced. And I think that gut instinct is that you hear someone's getting divorced and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Or like a gasp,
but
like,
a lot of the times, it's fair to say, a lot of the times the person is not sorry that they're getting divorced. They've already gone through the process of mourning the loss of their marriage, and they probably have been in counseling for a while, and they have accepted the fact, and maybe they're looking forward to it. So I generally will say to people, if you're sorry, I'm sorry. And if you're not, yay. Because there are sometimes people, people will say that they're sorry, that it's refreshing often for someone to hear, that I'm happy for you if that's what you wanted. But I really think the first thing I say is, how are you doing?
Right.
Because regardless of whether or not they're sorry or they're happy, first of all, the question, how are you doing? You're going to get the answer to whether or not they're upset. And that's really the most important thing. I mean, how are they doing? They could be really sad and sorry, but they could be doing okay, or vice versa.
Yeah, so, I read the book by Sheryl Sandberg after her husband had a heart attack while they were on vacation. And she said the best thing people could do for her was say, how are you right now? Because look, I was really happy to be out of my marriage. How was I? Well, that's like a loaded question. I was great because I didn't have to be married to him anymore, and I didn't have any guilt, and I wasn't crazy. So those are 3 like kind of important things.
Right.
How am I at being the parent of 3 little kids, who now I have to pretend that I like my ex so that I could listen to them talk about him and not look like I'm about to like vomit inside or something like that. So in that respect, I really wasn't okay. And how am I with the divorce process itself? Well, it freaking sucks. It's overwhelming. It's expensive. It makes no sense.
Right.
And I don't even have all of the words for it. So another really good thing is to get people in a moment, like a tiny moment. How are you right now? You know
Right.
how you are right now. Right now, I'm good. I'm good. So that definitely works all around with your kids, with a
Right.
friend, with family, anybody.
I would also say, in terms of being able to be a good friend or a good sibling or a good colleague, you know, someone close to you or that you know well who's going through divorce, they're just because they're telling you things doesn't mean that they're soliciting your
Right.
advice or want your answer or asking you how to handle things.
Right.
I found that very often, if I would be venting, then whoever I was talking to kind of felt like, you know, they took it upon themselves to like, well, this is what I would do, or this is what I think you should do. And it's like, I just needed to like complain about the situation that happened. I will handle it, but you can just listen sometimes.
Right. But let me also take the other side of that friendship, because you have a friend who's trying to be there and isn't a good listener or whatever. So if you're the one going through it, say, you know what, Jess, I need to vent.
Yeah.
So also
You can create your own boundaries.
Right.
By telling
You
them what
create your
need.
boundaries because it's coming from a good place, probably.
Right.
And
but this is more about what you can do for others.
Right. I'm just saying though, like also when you talk to them, you can say, well, do you want my opinion?
Right.
Instead of offering the opinion,
correct.
ask, are you in a
That's
place
right.
where are you asking me for my opinion, or do you just want to be heard? And they'll tell you
Right.
one way or the other. And that way you're not putting somebody so much in an uncomfortable position. Also really good way to be a good friend, especially in a new social situation. I was invited to a friend's 40th a while ago, and I went with another couple who's now divorced, but I went with them. So I thought they were going to have like my back at this party.
And they did not.
They were nowhere to be found. I was on my own, taking questions here, questions there, coming to me everywhere, and I was not prepared. And people were trying to be nice friends. But I was like, shit, I like actually got dressed up.
So
I
what could
went
other
out-
people have done to help you get
Let's go
through
get
that?
a drink.
Right. Like
Let's
approach
go with it.
approach the person and try to spend time with them. Invite
Like
them
you look
out.
fabulous.
Right.
You look
exactly.
so great. I'm so happy to
Right.
see you here. I don't remember if anybody even said that, because that was 1% of the conversation I had with them. The rest was, I
Correct.
can't believe he did that.
Right.
And what's going on?
Right.
And what's going to happen to the kids, and so on and so forth. So
here's how to not be a good friend. Ask all the details. Or
Right.
like, you know, express all of that. I mean, people
this should be about how to not be a good friend. And then you guys just flip it
the
around
whole, I
and
can't
do the
believe
opposite.
this or I can't believe that is never helpful. It really is never helpful. So just be careful, be sensitive, tell them you're there for them. And another thing, don't just give open-ended invitations that never materialize. Like saying to someone, oh, in September, you don't know what you're doing. No, hold on.
Go ahead.
If someone's saying to you in September, if you don't have plans for Thanksgiving, you're welcome at our house, and then never following up on that. Don't make the person who's going through the divorce have to reach out and say, can I please come for this holiday? If you're giving invitations to things, once you say it, I think that the right thing to do is to follow up on that a month later. Have you made plans? We'd love for you to join us here. Just saying to someone you're always welcome here.
Well, but that's
is a
not
nice
coming from
thing.
a bad place, but you need
I
to
didn't say it. I'm
know that
saying-
you need
I'm
follow
not
up.
saying that it's coming from a bad place. I'm saying if you don't just give an open, extended invitation, like actually make a plan or get them to commit. Sometimes the person won't want to come for Thanksgiving. They won't want to spend the holiday.
Or
with
they
you,
might get a new
which
plan.
is fine. But
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of situations where people have said things like, oh, you can, you know, and then at the end, I'm like, the only person that I'm calling and saying I'm coming for the holiday is TH. But I've had other invitations, and I don't think, since they weren't like leading up close enough to the holiday to say, okay, we're like finalizing our things. Are you and the kids coming? The fact that you said it to me 2 months ago, in my opinion, just didn't feel enough like that I would be comfortable to say, okay,
Yeah,
I'm coming.
don't forget your friends,
Yeah.
especially during major holidays, like call them, be like, Jess, what are you doing Thanksgiving? If you
Right.
don't have plans, you're welcome to come over.
And then follow up with that. Are
Right,
you going
follow
to
up.
come?
Because just so you know, on our end, we're like, well, they said it 2 months ago, but do you think they really meant it?
Right.
And like, what
Or
am
am
I
I
gonna
gonna
do? Call them
inconvenience
and be like, hey, remember you invited me 2
Right.
months ago? Can I still come? So
Correct.
you don't know what you don't know. But we
We
being the
do.
ex-experts do know. So we're just letting you know both sides of it. It's coming from a good place. We know that you're good friends to your good friends, but these little tweaks in your conversation and your approach with them is actually really going to take you a long way. So for more advice from us, more tips, more info, leave us comments of other ideas and topics you want us to talk about. And I'm TH and this is Jessica, and we'll see you next time.